I did not lie. Told y'all I was voting. There I am in voter parking. Here I am with my I voted sticker. Go Donald Trump. Uh-oh. All right, so that's me on Friday voting. And I know many of you for several years have been disappointed with the fact that I've chosen not to vote. I'm 57 years old. Last Friday is the first time I ever voted in a political election here in America or anywhere on the globe. That means I think in 1984, I was just 17 years old and ineligible to vote. So I started skipping votes in 1988, and I believe that was George H.W. Bush versus Michael Dukakis. I was in college at the time, just wasn't passionate about politics, didn't really care. Then I believe in 92, that's Bill Clinton taking on George H.W. Bush, and slightly intrigued, but still not interested. By the time 96 rolled around, I'm really not. I've taken on an identity of, look, I'm a non-voter. I'm very objective. As a journalist, I don't want to be judged by what people think about me politically. I want to be seen as someone who's a objective, non-voting journalist. I don't want people judging me based off of politics, and I don't want to acknowledge in any way that another man or a political group is responsible for my fate or really has any influence over my fate. And that's the position I've held for a number of years. It got even more intense as I got further along in my Christian journey. I don't want an identity outside of Christ. I don't like it when people call me conservative. Certainly don't want people calling me liberal. Don't want people calling me a Republican. Don't want people calling me a Democrat. I want them to call me a Christian and hold me to that standard. That's healthy for me. That's a high standard. When I was just like, no, I'm a Christian. So if you see me in a strip club, I want you to be able to say, hey, man, you're a Christian. What are you doing? You look like an idiot. You are an idiot. You're a hypocrite. I want to be held to that standard. A Republican, a conservative, a liberal, a Democrat, they're free to do anything. They can curse at people in traffic. They can steal from people. They can be underhand. They can lie to people. All of that. Conservatives, liberal, Republicans, they all lie. They all cheat people. As a Christian, you're not supposed to. And so you can hold me to that standard. In 2016, Donald Trump certainly captured my imagination. And the MAGA movement certainly captured my imagination. Trump is the first person that ran for president where I was like, well, he's not a politician. And man, he's got so much money, he's more difficult to control. Captured my imagination. I like the MAGA movement. Anybody that knows me in 2016 was like, yeah, Whitlock's on board with Trump and what he's doing in the MAGA movement. But I still didn't vote because, again, I liked my brand. Non-voting, objective journalist. And I wanted to see how Trump handled things. 2020, certainly a Trump supporter, not a fan of Joe Biden. Everybody can know that, but still didn't vote. I like my brand. What changed? What changed is January 6th, 2021. January 6th, 2021 changed me on that day of like, holy cow, look at this corporate media call these people insurrectionists. Well, I had never really, I don't think I had heard the word insurrectionist before January 6th. And this all seemed coordinated and was like, holy cow. And I started saying on January 6th, man, they're going to bury these people under a jail. They're going to treat them like terrorists. And they're going to all be thrown in prison and given lengthy prison sentences. And it's just unfair. These people are unarmed. They just went through 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years of watching people terrorize cities and burn buildings and loot and do all this other kind of stuff. And they went to the Capitol to express their frustration, a frustration that I shared. And if I wasn't a coward, I would have been there with them at the Capitol. January 6th changed me. It helped me understand, like, man, there are real consequences to this election process and Trump not being in office. And then I started thinking about, and you guys have watched me on this show interview Sarah Maccabee, whose husband is in prison right now. He's a sheriff from right outside of here in the Nashville area, did nothing illegal on that day, but he was there. The man is sitting in prison right now. And I started thinking about all these people that are in prison being treated unfairly for January 6th, and all the people that are free, that burned and looted cities and spit on cops and created an environment where looting and violence toward police and defund the police movement all started. And these people aren't in prison. They're not rotting in prison. And so January 6th made, like, I got to do something to help the people, the political prisoners of January 6th. And the only thing I could think to do is vote for Donald Trump because he would pardon them. And so that's what I started thinking in 22 and 23. And then as we've moved further and further along, there's been one other thing motivating me, and that's DEI. I want DEI to end because I think it's one of the most poisonous, toxic, destructive things we have going on in America, the DEI mindset, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think if you've listened to me on this show, I probably shared stories about, I've got friends that work in college administration and they are part of the DEI team or they work for people in the DEI team. And I've seen how DEI changes people that I've known for many years that were absolute go-getters, and I'm going to make my own change, and I'm going to make things happen, to adopting the mentality of, hey, I'm owed things, and things have to be given. You have to bend over backwards for people of color to let them know that this or that. I told a story, I think, about a friend of mine that was a great athlete. I'm not going to name the sport, but a great athlete. And he came from little or nothing, but he was super aggressive. And he made things happen in his athletic endeavors. No coach had to tell him, hey, there's an opportunity to make this tackle, or there's an opportunity to grab this rebound, or there's an opportunity to hit this baseball out of the park. He didn't need to be told that. He just did that instinctively. Self-made person, self-made athlete, didn't, in terms of aggression and making things happen, he didn't need anybody to tell him that there was an opportunity out there and go get it. And so I listened to this person as an adult complain to me about in the last 2 or 3 years, like we were at an event, at a game, and I don't think this school or this team had one black cheerleader. And the person explained to me, like, man, this school has done a terrible job of letting the black kids know there was an opportunity to be on the dance team or the cheerleading squad. And I looked at this person and I was like, what? You telling me in 2023, these kids need to be told that there's an opportunity to be on the dance team or the cheerleading team? I was like, hey, man. And I named a girl that in 1987 or 86 was on the Ball State cheerleading team or dance team. And I called her name. Let's say her name was Mary Smith. I was like, hey, man, Mary Smith was on our dance team in 1987. Remember, I used to hang out with her, blah, blah, blah. Black girl, you know, what are we talking about here? So you're telling me in 1987, black girls knew they could be on the dance team, and now in 2023, we got to put out a special invite and let them know that this opportunity even exists? Like, how does this compute with your mentality as an athlete? No one had to tell you that, hey, so-and-so, There's an opportunity for a rebound. There's an opportunity for a tackle. There's an opportunity for you to hit the base. You just went out and did it. But these kids now, because of this DEI mentality, they're being told that if someone doesn't walk up to you and say, here's an opportunity, you don't know to go get it. Let's be honest. The insurance model is broken. Thanks to Crowd Health, we can do something about it. Crowd Health puts your health care back in your hands. No huge premiums or high deductibles, no surprises. Use the promo code FEARLESS at joincrowdhealth.com. That's joincrowdhealth.com, promo code FEARLESS. I made a very crude analogy because I make crude analogies, used to all the time. I do a lot less of it. But I'm going to share the analogy that I used. And it's a stupid analogy, but it's just factual what I said. I was like, hey, man, for me in particular, maybe not for you, but I would still be a virgin if someone had, hey, here's an opportunity. I said, the only way that I'm not a virgin is because I went out and said, oh, I got to go get this. Because it's not like women just walk down the street and say, yeah, I want to get with Jason Whitlock. I had to go make that happen. And we can't build a world where men are sitting around thinking, well, unless they walk up and hand me an opportunity, I can't make things happen. We can't teach young people that. But this is the poison of the DEI entitlement mentality that must be stopped. And the DEI mentality actually is, the elites, they're going to install symbols. People, unqualified people, they're going to put them in positions and have them out there as symbols so that this is a way to alert people that there's opportunities out there. That if you have these symbols, if you have Mike Tomlin as a head coach, if you have this person as the vice president, if you have Barack Obama as the president, if you have Rachel Levine, a man pretending to be a woman, as the assistant health secretary or whatever, if you have gay Pete Buttigieg as the transportation secretary, oh, now kids will know that these opportunities are out there and available for them. Well, man, that's not the way the world works. That's not the way America has worked. That's not the law of the jungle. You don't have to tell a lion, hey, there's a zebra just around the corner and it's an opportunity for you to eat. A lion goes out and hunts a zebra. That's the way the world works. And so we're destroying the mentality with this diversity, equity, and inclusion, and this installing of symbols and this mentality that if kids don't see it, they can't believe it. Do you understand? It's an attack on faith. Do you understand the process, the mentality of faith? Accepting things that aren't understood, accepting things that you didn't see with your own eyes. You step out there on faith. This is what DEI and the symbolism mentality that they're promoting. It walks you away from faith. It walks you away from the instincts that God put in you. Go get. There's a book that called the Bible that lets you know that that's the book that explains all your opportunities that God created for you. You need to put that book and those words in your kids and make them go, push them out the door and say, go get. Even things I haven't explained to you, go get them. My father had that mentality. And that's why I'm here today. My mother had that mentality. That's why I'm here today. Why are we stealing this from the next generation and saying they don't need that mentality? When my father was working at Chrysler Motor Company on the factory assembly line, and his supervisor complained about him reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. And my father said, man, to himself, Ain't nobody gonna tell me what I can read on my lunch break. I'm going to start my own business. Him and some friends opened a barbershop called the Knot Hole. Then the next thing you know, my father opened a bar, or went into business with some guys on the Triangle Club because he wanted to be his own boss. He didn't want anybody telling him what book he could read on his lunch break. And no one had to tell my father that, hey, you know, there's an opportunity for you to start your own business. He did that instinctively. And he did that not because of the internet and there was all these people on TV and all that, because this is before TV was that popular. My father grew up so poor, I'm not sure they had a television. They certainly didn't have Instagram or Twitter. They didn't have NFL head coaches. You know what he had? My father didn't have a father. He never knew his father. My last name's really not Whitlock. He just had instincts. He was a lion. And men were expected to go out and make things happen, not have things handed to them, not need some gay celebrity on TV as a symbol, some gay rapper as a symbol that, oh, you can accomplish things. He had his instincts and he had an expectation of what men were supposed to do. And so he went out and made things happen for himself. So he didn't have to answer to somebody that would complain about him reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. This DEI stuff is more poisonous and toxic than people realize, and it's killing this country. It's killing the mentality of men. It's killing the mentality of young people and children. It's offering up symbols instead of fathers. It's a promotion of the matriarchy that, hey, you know what? These single women can actually run things as long as we have enough symbols on TV. These kids, they don't need a father. They don't need a mother and father in a marriage. No, they don't need any of that. They don't need what God gave them and planned for them, the nuclear family. No, they need symbols. If Mike Tomlin's on TV, that's better than a father. This is hot garbage. This is how you destroy young people. This is how you destroy and undermine a country. There have been no great societies built without the foundation being the nuclear family, without male leadership, without the patriarchy. It just hasn't happened, and it will not happen. What you're going to get from these alternative families, these single mama families, these mama and mama families, these daddy and daddy families, you're going to get the chaos that is being served to us on a daily basis. You're going to get these predator kids that's ruining our neighborhoods and communities and undermining this country. And it's all rooted in this poisonous DEI entitlement, symbols over fathers mentality, symbols over families mentality. That's why I can't stand Kamala Harris and the Democrats. Donald Trump is not perfect by any stretch. Because I hear many of you, well, Trump's not a fan. He's been married 3 times and he had sex outside of marriage and blah, blah, blah. Get it. He ain't no promoter of DEI, though. It's you know, he's not. And they are. And I can't stand it. It's feminizing men. It's feminizing this country. It's destroying young people. It's making kids vulnerable to other. Do you realize they will never put in front of your face the statistics of, you wonder why these kids are getting sexually violated, trafficked, abused? Because we have too many kids growing up in broken families with no supervision or not the proper amount of supervision. Do you understand when mother and father are married and working together, how much safer kids are? When you have 4 sets of eyes and 4 ears monitoring kids rather than 2, and those 2 are off working overtime and doing all kinds of other things to meet those financial demands, and they're bringing in boyfriends and girlfriends into their kid situation rather than daddy and mama into their kid situation. The whole DEI, it's created this false belief. You don't need family, you need symbols, and we're going to install them. And then you got a group of elites that all are volunteering to be the symbols. That's all these Ivy League Negroes and college-educated Negroes, they all want to be symbols. Everybody's signing up to be a symbol. Yeah, I'll be a symbol and I'll get on TV and say all the right things. And this is what kids need. Kids need parents. They need fathers in the home. That's why I voted. Kids are more vulnerable because of this destructive path we've gone down. And I voted because I want those people out of prison from January 6th. We have to destroy DEI, and we got to let those people out of prison. That's why I voted. I just wanted to share that with you all. I can't say I feel any different having voted. I do, but I know if I didn't vote, I would feel bad, and I would feel like a hypocrite. And I wouldn't be able to look people in the eyes whose family members, people, loved ones are suffering in prison right now for taking zip ties to the Capitol and being framed as insurrectionists by the people in power. So, I want Donald Trump. My hope is Donald Trump pardons the people in prison for January 6th and, puts Vivek and other people in power that will deconstruct DEI. Don't miss a second of Fearless. Hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with our latest content.